Is enrolling 90 students in 90 days even possible? Well, the answer is yes, if you have the right systems, the right marketing, and the right team to help you get there. This is exactly what we helped Steve out of Canada do with his school. And in this video, you're gonna see how our client success director, Katy Chaffin, grills him on everything he did to become successful so that you can become successful too. Let's check it out.
For those of you who don't know me, I am Katy Chaffin. I'm the head of client success. Worked with Miss Jennifer at the flagship dojo for a long time before I came over here. We're a martial arts family and a Navy family, and just love being here and helping you guys out. So I'm going to Steve some questions here. And then if you guys have questions along the way, if you want to just drop them in the chat, and we'll save the last couple minutes so he or myself can answer any of those questions that you might have. Let's do this. Okay, Mr. Steve, are you ready, sir? You're in the hot seat.
I'm ready.
Awesome. So let's just start. Tell us a little bit about your background, your school, and then we'll get into like where you were last year compared to now. So
Sure. So one, thanks for having me. It's been incredible so far. So I started doing jujitsu when I was 7. That's Japanese jujitsu. And so that was 49 years ago. I just recently retired from the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I was with the RCMP for 35 years, and I retired as a staff sergeant. When I retired, I was working at our provincial training academy and looking after all our firearms and use of force programs. Had about 60 instructors that reported up through the chain of command to myself. So it was a great job. I was at our training academy for 17 years and went through all the ranks and jobs and roles and whatnot. So that was amazing. I've had my school for 32 years. So when I first started, I was teaching part-time in different locations. And actually how my school started was there was no jiu-jitsu in Chilliwack or in Abbotsford where I lived at the time. So I joined a karate club and they wanted to do some cross training. So that's how my jiu-jitsu school started. Eventually, a lot of the karate people stopped training, and I had more non-karate people, civilians joining the school. I did attempt a full-time school in the mid-90s. I was way too young, didn't know what the heck I was doing. So I went back to teaching part-time and renting other locations. And 13 years ago, I managed to accumulate enough funds and clientele and following that I reopened full-time. And we've been growing every year since 2011 or 2012, I think it was 2011. And yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of where I started and how it got to where I am now.
awesome. And you've been with us since
I think my ads probably started going live around Labor Day.
okay. And in terms of revenue, before coming on board, where were you at, student count, that kind of thing?
So I think when I first came on board, so my 2023 gross revenue was about 205,000, and I was probably sitting around 150-ish, maybe a little bit more students somewhere around there. Wasn't really tracking all that great, I think. So my year-end gross revenue for 2024 was 265,000, so up about 60,000 from where I was in 2023. And as I checked my numbers this morning, I'm at about 246 students.
Awesome. Awesome. So yeah, when you first came on, you started enrolling those students.
When I first came on, it was like drinking from a fire hose. It was really like I couldn't believe when the ads went live. Literally within 3, 4 days, I think my Slack spreadsheet was just like bam, 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 bam. And yeah, I think after the first week, I had like 40 or 50 leads that I was on the phone with. Yeah, it was incredible.
Had you done any marketing prior to?
Not definitely not to this extent. And the Facebook marketing I had tried, to be honest, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just trying to follow along, what they suggested, and the other part from my marketing was really word of mouth in our community. Maybe some newspaper ads, a little bit of radio, but really a lot of word of mouth.
Okay. And then what else would you say you implemented straight away that also contributed to
Yeah,
help?
I think the biggest piece was really learning how to sell. So I was already doing the private one-on-one and in that piece, so that was working well, but it was really the after the one-on-one. Right? That was the key piece, where we get into the first thing I look for is willingness to learn. And they did a great job. And then I go into, what we did as part of the one-on-one, and then walk them through the mentorship, goal setting, accountability, those kind of things, and really kind of selling, the product that way, which was completely new and foreign. And it took me a little while to get into it. But the more I was able to walk through it, the more like funny story, I every year I host a martial arts training camp here in Chilliwack. So I have instructors from other schools and friends. So I was walking them through the process, kind of letting them know, hey, here's what's going on, something you may want to consider. And I would go through the sales process, and they're like, okay, where do we sign up? Like, this is right. Yeah. So I really found the more I kind of thought about it, the more I did it, the better I got at it. And so, yeah, so that was one of the big pieces that I, took away from the implementation process, is just kind of that.
Okay, that's really great to hear because I do know that some of our, newer clients come on board, and I think if they're going to be resistant to something, adopting the sales process that we have can be one of those things. So it's great to hear that you were willing to give it a shot, right? Nothing to
Yeah.
lose by trying it. So
I think by trying it and seeing the successes, was really led to that confidence piece, right? And I mean, it's no different than when you're talking about goal setting, to the parents and those kind of things, right? This is your first goal or whatnot, is when you achieve that goal, you build confidence to go farther. And so implementing, that sales process and conversation with them, because right from the beginning, I've never been what's the word I'm looking for? A pressure salesperson, right? I don't try and pressure anybody into joining my school. And at one time was really kind of well, if you don't want to join, then that's great, right? But really kind of that getting into that conversation with them and stuff. And the more success I had, the more confidence I built to be able to kind of continue doing that, right? And I think, the other part was really taking those black belt blinders off, right? Well, I'm a black belt. I know what I'm doing. Well, the reason you're joined 7FD is maybe because you don't know what you're doing. And I knew that I wanted to, when I retired from the RCMP, I knew that I needed to take my school to the next level. I didn't want to just retire, and because really what I was doing with my school was just, I don't want to say keeping it afloat because it was successful, but I needed to get it to the next level.
right.
And, I really thought that, well, if you don't know, so then you got to seek out somebody who does know. And of course, I've been at this a long time. I've had my school for a long time, and I'm online and social media, and I look at different things and products and, try and implement that. And when I came across 7FD and then, made the phone call and had a chat, it was like, okay, I'm going to try this. This seems to be exactly what I was looking for, not just a consulting kind of group that says, yeah, try this, really having kind of that one-on-one coach. Miss Callie's been amazing. And, all the resources and stuff and the support. That's really what I was personally looking for to get to the next level. And so far, I'm super happy that it's working out.
Awesome. Awesome. So I know we talked about marketing and sales. Are there any other, strategies or things that you've implemented to help you get to that next level?
The follow-ups, because really for me, that was one area that, my life was so busy. I would get up at 4:30 in the morning, go to the gym, then I got to work a full day, then I got to come home, then I got to teach. So I really had not a lot of time in my daily calendar to be on the phone, making phone calls, following up, and, those kind of things. So now that I'm, retired and have that, and like I said at the beginning, it was like, drinking from a fire hose. Here I'm retired and I'm at the school at 10 o'clock in the morning making phone calls, and I'm there till 9 o'clock at night. My son was like, I thought you were retired. You're going to be at home. It's like, no, I'm retired from one and then full time into this venture now and to make it successful. So really the follow-up process. And one of the things I remember at the beginning having those conversations, I think it was with Callie, it was kind of like, you want me to call them in the morning, call them in the afternoon, like for 5 days in a row. And, my black belt mindset was that's too much. Right. But the business side, what really made sense was they left their name and number looking for information. You're just calling them back. Right. And if they don't answer the phone, you're just calling them back so that you can answer the questions they have. So you're not being excessive. If they said, hey, don't call me back, then great. But if you don't get a hold of them, right, you're just calling them back to sort of give them the answers that they wanted to find out in the first place by leaving their name and number, right?
Right. So let me ask you this, sir. What was your follow-up process prior?
I didn't like being on the phone, so it was really, text and email. And if they didn't reply, it would kind of get lost in the shuffle somewhere, right? In kind of all the other emails that were coming in. So really having, I use the spreadsheet, but I also use the index cards. So, that day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. So I try and really stay, diligent in using that. So that was really the process, and moving away from email and text to calling. And, like you guys say, kind of that triple hit, right? Call, voicemail, text. I try and do, all of that.
Very good.
Obviously, I get frustrated and I'm sure everybody does, when you call them 2 or 3 times and they don't pick up the phone, they don't reply back to, your text message or your voicemail, so, I do have a stack of people that don't reply back, but I think that's just the nature of, leaving your name on a Facebook, ad. I have people that go, oh, I don't even remember leaving my name and number, right? So, yeah.
Right. I like to think of it as, and I've said this to a few of you before, as your, grandma watching the Home Shopping Network sometimes at midnight, they're scrolling their Facebook and she bought this, pink toaster because she thought she needed it at midnight. But then when it shows up on her doorstep, she doesn't remember ordering it. So
Yeah.
the aggressive follow-up is needed. So I appreciate you, sharing that. And I do believe that a lot of us, especially in the martial arts and just being in the service industry of wanting to help people and change their lives, the level of integrity that we have is sometimes not the same as the general public, right? Like we know that we would at least say stop or answer your message or something like that, whereas the mass majority of people are just going to ignore you and not
The
getting
other,
upset about it and going on to the next one.
the other part is following up on the appointments that you've set, right? And sometimes, life gets in the way and I can't always follow up. I'm a one-man show, and it's kind of like, the day before, sending those texts or sending those, phone calls, and hey, just confirming our appointment for 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon or 3 o'clock or whatever. And then, you get the no-show. And then you call them and text them and, hey, just making sure everything's okay. You didn't get into an accident on the way to the school, whatever it might be. And then they still ghost you, right?
Yep.
So obviously those are frustrating because it does take, time out of your day and those kind of things, especially when you don't have an appointment before or after. You just got that single appointment right in the middle of your day and it blows up, so, not getting too frustrated with those, but rather learning from those and saying, you know what, I need to be more diligent. I need to make the call, or, those kind of things. So,
Where would you say you struggled? I know when you came on, you said you're drinking from a fire hose, lots of information coming your way. What would you say your biggest struggle was with implementation?
I think my biggest struggle was keeping ahead of the game. And, at the beginning where it was just like, yeah, so many leads coming in. Now it's kind of tapered off, so I mean, tapered off 2, 3 a day rather than the, 10 per day that were kind of coming in. They come in the middle of the night, they come in during the day. But I think the piece for me that I'm going to struggle with is the growth in the sense of, yes, I've enrolled, I think, 116 students, not including January. So between August, September, October, November, December, so somewhere around there, they all got to fit somewhere. So in my school, I have an age specific format. So I have 3 and 4 year olds, 5 and 6 year olds. Those are my Saturday classes. They're just 1 day a week for 10 weeks. And then I have my 7 to 9 and my 10 to 13 year olds. And then my 14 and above. I've actually had to add classes to my calendar. So my Saturday, where I had 4 classes, I'm up to 6. So I have a beginner 3-4, a yellow belt 3-4, an intermediate 4, a beginner 5-6, a yellow belt 5-6, and an intermediate 5-6. And the reason I had to do that is because they just kept coming. And so my beginner 3-4 year olds, I think we have 16 kids. That's the max. And then my 5 to 6 year old beginner white belt class is close to 30. And then my other ones, move down a little bit. So everybody that was in the beginner 5 and 6 last semester are in that yellow belt class. So I got another 15 to 20 in that group. So I just didn't have space to fill them all in, and the wait list was just growing. The 7 to 9 year olds was the same thing. It went so after I started with 7FD, that age group went to 35, and I can't manage 35 doing our jujitsu program. So I actually added a Monday, Wednesday, so opposite days, and within 4 weeks, it was at 20. So the only age group that hasn't blown up the same as those is the 10 to 13 year olds, and that's okay. It's still at 25 in that beginner class. So that's where the struggle is if this growth continues, do I need a new location? I got 3 years left to go on my lease. I'm in a great location right in the middle of town, lots of parking, main road exposure.
Yep.
So, all the things that you want, I think, from a school where, location, a great location. And then the other part is assistant instructors or building that team. So I do have a leadership team. We call it our elite. So our heat for Hisco escape and evade tactics. And that's just kind of my branding name. And then elite is our leadership group. So excellence, leadership, integrity, teamwork, and lead by example. So, I do have about 13 in that group, but they're in the process of learning and those kind of things. They really help out on our Saturday classes.
Yep.
And I think that's an important piece for people to have because when your classes are so big, I can't manage 16 3 year olds on my own. So having a really good instructor student ratio is a great selling feature to parents when they're coming in, especially if they're in those younger age groups, right? Where it's kind of like herding cats, where you can tell them, well, we break the class down even farther and we have 2 instructors for every 4 students or, whatever it might be. So I think for me, that's my struggle is managing the growth that is coming. So
Coach Callie and the rest of us have your back, sir. We can help you with that for sure. What advice would you give to somebody who is struggling?
one is if you're struggling, it's because you're not doing something right. Or, well, I shouldn't say you're not doing something right. Maybe it's just not the right information or you're not getting the right information. And that's where I was at. Not so much struggling that I was going to close the doors. Look, during the pandemic, we had such a great group of parents and stuff. We rebounded from the pandemic within 6 months. All the money that I had lost, I had remade. And so we really bounced back well. So we had a good reputation and a good group of people. But for me, it was really how do I move forward? So it might be, for some people, I'm about to close the doors. For some people, it's plateaued. And how do I get to that next level? So, it was, like I said, taking those black belt blinders off. I discuss things with my wife because I see it from a martial artist standpoint, and my wife sees it from a parent standpoint, right? Looking
Mhm.
at it from an outsider looking in and going, yeah, that's great if they're all martial artists, but you got to be marketing and talking to people who have no idea about the martial arts world. Yeah.
So speaking of the black belt blinders, I like that term. How hard was it for you, sir, to empty your cup, to come into this process with an empty cup? Because it sounds like you really did, and you were all in,
There,
and you had a
yeah,
success.
it was a little bit difficult, but what I really liked was there were things that you guys were talking about that I was already doing, but needed to add more to it. So that was one. Like I said, the free intro, I stopped doing the 49.99, kind of stuff and the free uniform and because it really, when I heard what you guys were saying, it really made sense. So you're giving them a cheap month for 49.99 for 4 weeks, then you're going to jack their price up to 100. I charge 170 a month. So to go from 49, $50 to 170 a month is a huge jump. So that really spoke to me when you guys were talking about that. It's like, well, you gave it to me for a month at 50. Why can't you give it to me again for another month at 50, right? So those kind of things. Um, I one-on-one, like I said, I was doing because it gives me I don't do any online registrations. Basically, if you want to be part of my school, we're going to sit down and have a conversation so that we're on the same page. You are buying what I am selling, exactly what it is that I'm selling, and I can talk to you about the benefits of my school. But it was really that secondary piece, that conversation about the product that I was missing type of thing.
Mhm.
So
What would you say is the biggest thing you wish you'd known before that you?
the biggest thing I wish I would have known before was how fast those leads were going to come in. So I could have got myself prepared. And that's, just for me. And, the selling process. So you guys really helped out with that selling process. And the other piece that you really helped out with was the pricing models. So I never did a paid in full model previously. Never did a down payment before. That really was a game changer to begin with. And that was another area that I was kind of skeptical about. And, and especially the paid in full. I like, who's gonna who's gonna give me 700 bucks right up front like that? And the first day I did it, I don't know if it was on the very first appointment or within the first few, and they were like, yeah, okay, we'll pay for it in full. And I came home and I talked to my wife about it, and she goes, that's what I would do, right? Like, if I can knock it off and not have to worry about it, that's what I would do. And it was kind of like, okay, there's that black belt mindset and somebody from the outside looking at it, right? So that helped out right from the beginning.
Very good. Do
Yeah.
you have a certain level or number of those that you go for each month now and you're targeting?
No, you know what? Just present it and see which one they want to go with. We always need to move forward. So for me, it's really I need to work more on the objections piece and and getting better at that part. And I think part of my issue is that my intros start at 3 in the afternoon and 4 in the afternoon. I don't do any intros in the evening. I don't have the space. And I think the realization I'm coming to is that one of the parents is working during the day. So the other parent is the one that comes to the intro. So moving, trying to get them to move away from I need to speak to my spouse is very difficult. They should both be there at the same time. And as much as I try and encourage that, it's not always possible because of the time my intros are at.
Right.
And again, I have a class that starts at 4:30 that has 30 kids in it on Mondays and Wednesdays. I have another class on Tuesday, Thursday that starts at 5 o'clock with another 30 kids in it, and every class is jammed. So, the only ones that I kind of really do an intro during class time is with the teenagers and the adults. And, but the other ones I really need a little bit more because after that beginner class, I have an intermediate class and I don't have necessarily, depending on which instructors I have, the time to, another 30 minutes to sit with the parents and do the mentorship, goal setting, accountability discussion with them while I have another class ongoing.
Right.
So
We can definitely help out with that too. So, all right, guys, we're going to open it up to some questions now. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us. Miss Paula, you asked, do you have Lead Connector or Ninja Flow? Are you using the software, sir?
I'll say no.
Spreadsheet guy.
Yeah.
And then she also asked, how many months are you selling? So how much your program set up? Like how many, your beginner program is how long?
So the 3 and 4, 5 and 6s, I wanted to do something that parents would recognize. So one of the things that parents recognize is signing your kids up for swim lessons, right? So they come in a block of lessons. So I do 10 lessons for those two age groups and then 10. So there's three main intakes per year. So September, January, and April, and we go 10 weeks at a time. So 10 Saturdays. And then I do a reduced version during the summer to kind of keep them in the habit of coming to the dojo and whatnot, but really those 10. So
Do those groups, just a follow-on question for me, do those groups test? Do they earn belts since
yes,
they're once a week?
yeah, yeah, they do. We do their 8 lessons. Class number 9 is what their test is going to look like, and class number 10 is their test. So they get their yellow, orange, green. I have different colored, like different um not makes of belt, but they have a white belt with a colored stripe through it. And
Sure.
then 7 to 9 year olds have a colored belt with a white stripe through it. And then normal belts. Yeah.
Sure. Mr. James asked, how many other schools are within a mile of you?
Quite a few. So I am the only Japanese jiu-jitsu school. I do have a Brazilian jiu-jitsu program for adults, but our meat and potatoes is our Japanese jiu-jitsu program. And so there is another school on the south side of town, and then there's another one, two, three, four, five. There's a taekwondo school, karate school. So just on the street that I'm at, one, two, three, four, five. There are 5 other martial arts schools, and like within 2 to 5 minute drive.
Yep. So a lot of competition in your area. What do you do omnipresence, like getting out in the community? You said you did have a lot of word of mouth before you started marketing.
Not a lot. I have not done, I shouldn't say several years ago I did community events and that kind of stuff. I just really haven't had the time, and the Facebook marketing has really just kind of pushed me to where I am right now. Um, you know, yeah, so I don't do parades, I don't do a lot of the community events. I just one haven't had the time, and I haven't needed it so far. Yeah.
Okay, but we want you to do that. Always work to be done, right?
Well, that's the piece, and you know, being kind of like I said, a one-man show and trying to build the team. And the other part for me that I need to remember, I'm into this 4 months or 5 months, right? And I need to have a slow growth so I can manage my growth. I had a robust school before, now it's bursting at the seams. I need to be able to manage that. And I don't want to go. So part of it is if there's too many people on the mat and everything is chaos and you're the parent sitting on the side, they're going
For
to
sure.
like, you know, because when they come in for the one-on-one, some of them have been to other schools. Some have been students at other schools. So
Yep.
I asked them, right? They're like, oh, yeah, we went to this school for a couple of months and, oh, well, what brings you here, right? There was no discipline. There was no, it was just like kids running around and, that kind of stuff. I'm a pretty strict instructor, coming from a policing background and having done this my entire life and everything. Parents are looking for discipline. And if the kids are on the mat and they're running all over the place, so that's why I say managing my growth properly and getting my team to follow the steps that I want them to. So
For
too
sure.
fast of a growth might just push people to go other places.
For sure. Miss Paula asked also that you mentioned your wife. Is she involved in the school at all? Sounding board.
Yeah, no, she does. So my wife is a preschool teacher by trade. So she went to school to be a preschool teacher and was a preschool teacher for many, many years. So on our Saturday classes, which is our preschool ages and our kindergarten ages, she comes and helps out with those classes. So she's not really on the mat managing the instruction, but managing emotions from our 3-year-olds and emotions from our parents, right? And when you got a brand new 3-year-old who's never been in a martial arts environment, they want to cry for 30 minutes if they're not accustomed to that kind of stuff. So she definitely helps me out in those areas and also helps out with giving me and our team tips on managing some of those emotions and things out of those little kids.
Very good. Do you have any front desk staff?
Nope.
It's just you at the
Nope.
school mostly?
They come in, take their shoes off, bow, get on the mat. I have pieces of tape on the mat where they sit and wait, and that's where they go. And I take the attendance when they come in and whatnot. There's an area for parents to sit, and I don't allow them, before class to run around and jump on stuff and yell and scream. And they come in, they bow, they find their spot, they sit down, they wait for class to begin. So.
Very good.
The opening spiel they get is, I spend more time at the dojo than at my house. I don't go to your house, run around, yell, scream, jump on your furniture and stuff. You're not going to do that here. So they come in, things are quiet, and then class starts.
Very good.
So
That's my parents signing
that's
up there.
that's my approach.
Very good. Very good. Thank you again, sir, for
Yeah, you're
coming on
welcome.
and doing this with me today. Super excited for all the success that you've had and can't wait to continue working with you in 2025 so we can fit all those students where they need to be and get you some staff so you can enjoy a little of the retirement.
Thank
See
you,
you guys.
everyone. Have a great day.
So there you have it, guys. This is exactly what we do here at 7-Figure Dojo to help our clients succeed. It's not hocus pocus. It's actual hard work, it's results, and it's years of doing this not only for our own school, but for schools around the world. So if you've not joined yet our 7-Figure Secrets Facebook group, make sure you click the link in the description and hop on over so you can get free tools and tactics to help your school grow. And if you're really interested in getting started with us, you can just go to 7figuredojo.com, schedule a free call, let us see how we can help you get to that next level.